Alright, now I don't want to make a big thing out of what may appear to be a current event. I'm not talking about this story in order to talk about current events. I'm talking about this story in order to make other points. So I'm going to apologize in advance to Miss Taylor Swift, but, well, I don't mean to pick on you, baby, but you asked for it. And I'm also going to apologize in advance for some of my language that's going to be coming out in this little segment. So if you don't want to hear any kind of curse words, well, then you may not want to listen to this segment. But I find that in this particular instance, it would be very difficult to speak of wickedness without engaging some of those wicked words. So recently, there's been in the news this stuff about Taylor Swift. There's been several articles about Taylor Swift in the news, most of them centered around a lawsuit for the ass grabbing. All right, a lawsuit for the ass grabbing. Some idiot sued her for something stupid, and she countersued him for grabbing her ass, and I just made one big pile, right? And the only result that I find that it really shows all that is that it shows us again that two wrongs don't make a right. Now, what do I mean by that? That's the key thing. What do I mean? Two wrongs don't make a right. Well, and again, to preface this a little bit, I don't know how these algorithms work on the phone, but you get on Google and you tell it to give me some news today, and it pops up with stories. Now, I'm not one that frequents entertainment news. That's not my thing. I like truth. I think we find enough bullshit in the people that tell us that they're giving us truth, and we don't really need to go to the people who implicitly only give us lies, because there's even more bullshit there. But anyway, and I know that some kind of way they do these algorithm things on the phone to figure out what it is that you look at, pump you full of whatever it is they think you're going to look at, so they can get clicks, so they can get ratings. And we all know what it is about ratings that they are interested in, is that ratings equals money. And the way that ratings equals money is ratings mean you're watching it, and between what you see and where you spend your money, there's manipulation. And the manipulation is the media through which they get their ratings. And we'll talk about that later. And media is another one of those words that we use to cloud truth. But what is media? Well, when I was a child, media had a different definition than what it has today, because you didn't have the computer technology, and you did not have television as we appreciate it today, like you had it back when I was a child, when you had 3 stations and PBS, and all of television went off at midnight and didn't come back on until whenever, 4, 5, 6, 7 in the morning. Now you have an infinite number of channels for any practical purposes, and it is on 24/7, accessible 24/7, not only in real time, but you can, through the internet, you can get any program that was recorded before. The only thing you can't get yet is what they're going to do in the future. You can't get it yet. All right. But nowadays, media has a different connotation than when I was a kid. When I was a kid, you talked about media, and you talked about the ways to convey whatever message it was that you were conveying, whether it was an informational message or an artistic message, which, you know, is the information of the artistry and the interpretation of the artist and your own interpretation. That's all part of the information conveyed in art. But it would be the actual paper. This would be your media. This is media, and you put your information on here, and then this is what you give the people, you know, and this is the media through which you promulgate or disseminate the information to those to whom you're speaking. And remember, when you speak, when I say speak, I mean speak to other people's ears, into other people's eyes, because that's how you speak. So anyway, back to Miss Swift. Again, I don't mean to pick on you, sweetheart, but you asked for it. And since we're talking about you, we're going to talk a little bit about what fame is, because you're famous, right? You're Taylor Swift, your name. And I can remember, and let me apologize too, I don't really know your music, and I don't really care to. I probably heard enough to not be interested in it, but I do know that when you first came along, you were a little girl. I don't know how old you were. You weren't like 4 or 5. I think you were a little bit older than that, but you know, you were a little girl. You were a child, and I understand how you had your childhood that you had your childhood ripped from you in the name of fame, and for whatever reasons, it's not to be judgmental, but you had your childhood ripped from you, and maybe you don't know how to act, you know, and maybe you're working all that outside you, and there's nothing wrong with working all those kind of things outside you, but at this point in time in your life, because you are old enough, you either know or you should know that you have a tremendous impact on those who follow you. Not just the adults, but more particularly the little girls and children who look to you for how to act. And I'm singling you out, and that's unfair. But you can blame, if you want to blame somebody, blame the people who made it happen. Don't blame me for calling it out, for calling it like I see it, and for delivering the truth of it. I didn't make it happen. They made it happen. So anyway, you don't understand that you were a little girl at one point in time. You had your childhood ripped from you, but you were no longer that little girl. You know what you do. And if you ain't got it all figured out, well then why don't you take a little time to figure that out? Don't you have enough money to take a little time to figure it out? Like the rest of y'all, and please understand that when I'm talking to Taylor, I'm talking to all y'all. All of you. Don't you have enough money to take a little time to figure it out before you re-engage in fame, before you re-engage in pickpocketing your fan club for their attention and their money? Don't you have enough money to take a little time off to do that? You know, and at the same time, you know, if you're one of those people that just have to work, and yeah, you got the money, well, don't you have enough humility to take a little time? Do you need to be that vain to have that attention all the time? Can't you chill out for a minute and maybe figure yourself out somewhat so that you can be a better you and more of a you for your fans, the people that you lead? Because that's what leadership is. That's what fame is about. The famous people lead the hearts of those who follow them. If they pay attention to you, then you're leading them. And the people that run you know that. They know, and if you ain't figured it out, that all they need to do is get viewers to pay attention to what you're doing. Pay attention to your movies by seeing them. You know, paying to access your movies, and whether it's going to the theater or buying the DVD. That the more attention they pay to you, you know, paying attention to you by watching what you do in the news, by caring, by clicking on the article on the telephone to see what it is that you're thinking, you're doing, you're saying, because as long as the public pays attention to you in any way, you lead them. And you profit off that leadership because you get that attention and you get money from that attention. And that is the reason why you're famous. And that's why I don't mean to pick on Taylor or the rest of you famous people, but you asked for it when you engaged in seeking for fame. And that fame you sought was attention and money. Not just attention, but attention and money. Because when you get attention that doesn't come with money, they generally don't call that fame. Generally, when you get attention and no money for it, they call that infamous. Right? Right. Okay. So, back to Taylor. And I'm going to say this one more time. This ain't just about her. This is about all you famous people. This is about Hollywood, the whole deal. Just listen. When you started, she was a little girl. And, you know, when I looked at these articles and I looked at them because, I was inundated with them. And it's not the kind of news I asked for. So they wanted me to look at it. And here I am talking about it. So, you know, when she started off, little girl, I looked up pictures. Taylor Swift, young Taylor Swift. Boom. Fully clothed. You'd be amazed. Fully clothed little girl, sweet little expressions on her face, sweet little poses, you know, just doing a little girl stuff. You know, and then you scroll down, she got a little older, and when she got a little older, she started showing a little bit of that hip skin. You know how that hip skin is. And it gets a little bit lower, because these are coming a little bit out, you know, and then that hip skin starts showing, and you know, the pants got a little short, more leg, you know, there's more leg, more hip, more this. You know, as she got older. Now, sorry, Taylor. Now, she shows a lot more than that hip skin. Matter of fact, she shows just about as much skin as the law will allow her to show. And in every other picture that you look at, she's got a facial expression that's very sultry, a sultry facial expression. And what is a sultry facial expression? Well, it's like she's looking at you over the top of your dick. That's what it is. That's that sultry facial expression. It's one that you make when you're engaged in sexual activity. You don't make those sultry expressions when you're doing laundry, or when you're watching a comedy show, or when you are walking the dog in the park. You don't walk around with those sultry expressions, right? So what is a sultry expression? It's the face they make when they're looking at you across your dick. That's what it is. And moreover, now, gone are the cute little girl expressions, you know, poses and stuff. Nowadays, it's all about, and I'm going to call it just like it is, fucking air. That's what they do. These little girls stand up there in as few clothes as they can legally get away with, and they fuck air for your entertainment. And I say little girls, and I'm not talking about people like Taylor's age. It's getting younger and younger and younger. The principle is that they are adhering to is as little clothes as possible and as explicit, sexually explicit actions as possible. They fuck air, okay? Like the twerk. Let's talk about the twerk for just a second, okay? The twerk. I'm going to let you in on a secret, you know. Now, I know sometimes I have people let me in on secrets, and I'm like, wow, that's kind of stupid. But it happens. Sometimes some people dump it up. Anyway, the twerk. twerk is not a dance move. The twerk is a fuck move. Okay? Now maybe you ain't never had no... Anyway, the twerk is a fuck move. That head down on the ground, ass up in the air, gyrating back and forth in a rhythmic type of way. That's a fuck move. Okay? And your children, right? Disney has got your children on TV and as few clothes as the law allows, fucking air. And we're going to talk about exactly what that is. And the only thing that I'm really going to say about the kids fucking air, you know, and is that in terms of the impact, no, it ain't the only thing I'm going to say. It's terrible. It's wrong. You shouldn't be putting children on TV fucking air and in as little clothes as possible. And you're going to understand that that's exactly what's going on and that it's wrong. And you're going to know why it's wrong if you don't already know. All right? But the twerk is not a dance move. The twerk is a fuck move. Okay? Back to Taylor. And again, I'm sorry, sweetheart, but I'm going to tell this story about a buddy of mine. It's a stripper story. Now, a buddy and I, in my younger days, we happened upon a strip club. And we were there, and that's what you do in a strip club. You sit down there, ain't no big secret. And the secret is, though, that strippers aren't only found in strip clubs. They actually walk around, right? They walk around just like everybody else. Okay, and what is a stripper? What is a stripper? A stripper is a woman who, to initially begin discussing about it, a stripper is a woman that you pay to play with your dick through your mind. Right? Now, hooker, prostitute, you pay, and they actually play with your dick. But a stripper is a person that you pay, a woman you pay, and they don't touch your dick. They play with your dick through your mind. And how do they play with your dick through your mind? Well, first, they take off as many clothes as they can. Second, they move their body in front of you, and I mean right in front of you, like they fucking air. Right? Then, they make them sultry faces, like they are staring at you across from your dick. And by that, by those illusions, they reach into your heart and stir up that sexual appetite, stir up that arousal in you. That's what they do. That's what it is. That's the whole allure to a strip club. A hooker, you pay, they play with your dick. And a stripper, you pay, and they make you, they play with your dick through your mind by reaching into your heart and stirring up that arousal, that sexual arousal that they know happens by showing you skin, acting sultry, saying, all those naughty things, implying all those naughty things. That's how it works. That's not being a dog, right? It doesn't make a man a dog because a woman can reach in his heart with, and stir up that those sexual arousals in him. Doesn't make him a dog. That is the nature of it. Just like if you went, you went over to your neighbor's house with a treat, and he had a dog, and you just teased this dog with the treat until the dog was in a fucking frenzy, right? And then all of a sudden you wasn't paying attention, or the leash broke, or somehow another dog jumped out, got the treat out your hand, and bit you at the same time. Now, is that the dog's fault? Is that the owner's fault? Or is that your fault for going over there and teasing this dog like you knew you were, because that's what the treat does? And the dog, not that he doesn't know any better, the dog can't do any better. That's its nature. That's his nature. So you tease it until he's in a frenzy. And bad things happen. Bad things happen by giving him them little lies like that. Bad things happen. He gets loose and bites you. And, you know, dogs shouldn't be biting people, and the owner shouldn't be having dogs that bite people. But why did the dog bite you? Did the dog jump out of its own heart to bite you? Did the dog go out of its way, out of its normal course to bite you? Or did you tease the dog into biting you? Did you go in to that man's heart by taking your clothes off, by dancing like you fucking air, by those sultry faces? Didn't you reach into that man's heart? That's what you do. That's what a stripper does. They reach in to your heart, play with your dick through your mind for your money and your attention. We're going to come back to that. Please, I ain't saying there's nothing wrong with you ladies. I'm not judging anybody. I'm talking about the concepts themselves. Okay. So, back to Taylor and this story. I'm in a strip club with a buddy of mine. I'm younger, you know. He's the nature of it, you know. There's a girl and she's got all the clothes. She's wearing a string, literally just a string down around her mini and not even around her noonies, right? Nothing around the noonies, just a string down there, and she's right there in front of him. And she wants him to put, you know, she's got this, whatever string is up on the side, and you know, go ahead, put your money right in there, and he does, and that string money is right. She wants him to put that money right in that string, right by that little private part down there, and he does, and oh, he just grazes that little private part there, and you would have thought the man stood up and shit in church. She like to freak. Oh my God, he has no right to touch me. And you know, she right. Oh, no man can right to touch me, and I can't believe. And he looked at her and he said, and I quote, "Fuck you. You are a fucking stripper." And then they escorted us out. Because that's what they do. They invite you in for the lie that they can give you so that they can get your money, and this bitch on the in-between can get some of that money and your attention, and then if you call them out on what the hell's going on, not that he was right in what he did, but he was right in calling out the fact that the entire system there is predicated upon a woman reaching into a man's heart and rustling up his sexual appetite through the actions that she knows will result in exactly that, for that purpose, in exchange for his money and his attention. So that's what he brought out, was that the whole system is based upon that. Just like standing there teasing a neighbor's dog into a frenzy with a treat. Well, that's what happens. That's what happens at the end result of that game. So anyway, you know, at one point in time, let's take everything back a second. We used to have the FCC, Federal Communication Commission, and what they used to do was censor things. And I'm not being a pro-censor. I'm not talking about censorship because I don't believe in censorship. The responsibility for censorship does not rest in the government or in a program or in anyone else other than you. Okay? You have the responsibility to censor your own bullshit. Okay? You do. And if you know it's bullshit, then don't watch it in the first place, because you watch it in the first place, it leads to ratings, and ratings lead to profits, because everybody knows if you keep watching it, you're going to do it, and you're going to buy it. You're going to buy in to what you give your attention to. So choose to give your attention wisely. And if you know you're giving your attention to lies, stop giving your attention to lies. Give it the truth. So anyway, what censorship recognized was that commanding attention by appealing to our sexual arousal in and of itself leads to bad things for man. In and of itself. Just the idea that this is a fact. And it's not about men being dogs. It's about anyone's sexual nature. A sexual nature is a dog like that, because it doesn't know better. Your sexual nature responds to stimuli. So when you show erogenous places to your erogenous places to someone else, you're reaching in their heart and you are stirring up their sexual appetite. Okay? You know, men are going to have their own sexual desires, and again, men, I mean men and women. They're going to have their own sexual desires no matter what anybody else around them does about it. But when you reach into someone else's heart to foster their sexual appetite in furtherance of your fame, which is attention and money for you, you mislead them, you lie to them, and you sin against them. That's what you do. You know, Ms. Swift, your career is teaching people and little girls that it's okay to start off little one way, and I don't want to say conservative, but let's just say appropriately dressed, and then transition into a young lady where you take your clothes off and act in a completely different way, one that leads to the arousal of sexual nature and appetite in others for attention and profit. You're teaching by your actions, by what they see and hear, that that's okay. And don't you have enough money to take a little time off, figure shit out, so that when you come back to engage in your fame to get attention for money, attention and money, that you could lead our children in a better direction, something better, you know, in a good direction. I don't want to say better, but in a good direction. Because what is better? You know, if you're a little bit better than bad, but you're still bad, well, shit, it's still bad. Good, in a good direction, one towards truth, one towards love, and not towards pulling money and attention from the pockets of your fans by flashing your ass and shaking your boobies and looking like you staring at them across it from a dick. You know, And before you start defending your artistic ability and your talents, I'm gonna and quote this for you and the rest of them. You know, if being as naked as you can be and fucking air is your artistic interpretation of your music, then exactly what are you singing about in the first place? And why do you pretend to care about your fans who you continue to mislead and confuse with your lies? You know, the people who put your children on TV, your children, the children of the world, those who are too young to be up there, or by age, or those who are too young in their mind to be up there because they're not grown up yet and making decisions for themselves. They're just being further misled. The people who put your children on TV in as little as the law allows them to wear, and encourage them, teach them, and have them fuck air on TV for ratings, they know what this confusion leads to. They know what the confusion leads to in you. They rely on that confusion for their ratings, for their money, which is for your money. They know. They fought back when the FCC and censorship was going on in the United States. You know, they fought, said, well, if we could show a little bit more butt, a little bit more boob, we could say a little bit more, we could make a lot more money because people are going to give that their attention. And the FCC says, no, but that's wrong. We don't want them giving their attention to that. Well, they're going to give their attention to that anyway. We're just giving them the truth of what's there. We're giving them what they want. That's what they want. And we're going to talk about the progression of news later, in another segment. How news went from truth to whatever you'll buy. What you will buy into for its truth to whatever you'll buy into. And you'll buy into it for its entertainment. But we'll get to that later. So, again, Miss Swift and those others, many, many others who sought fame, sought that attention and the money that comes with fame for their artistic abilities. You sought that fame, and along with it was the attention that you sought, and you got that attention. Now you know, if you've been in the business for any amount of time and have opened your eyes to any degree, now you know that attention means leadership. That if people are looking at you, they're going to follow you. Just like if they are looking at nakedness and sexual behavior, then that's what they're going to follow in their hearts. And that is where they will be led. And that leads to immorality in and of itself, as we see manifested over and over in our civilization. These types of lies that create this type of confusion must change. It must stop, and it will. It's not a fact of must. It will. The question for man to decide is, how is that change going to come about? Is the change going to come about because we let these atrocities, and the immorality is just one of the atrocities and one of the ends associated with the means of media and mass manipulation and the stirring of sexual appetites into a frenzy of confusion where, by its own nature, it will reach out and bite you. That is going to crumble civilization unless it changes. So that's going to change. Therefore, the only question for man is, do we let it all crumble, or do we change it? And how do we change it? We can't replace one lie for another. We can only replace it with the truth. And again, censorship is not for the government or an agency to ultimately decide for you and take the responsibility of. That is for you to censor the BS out of the information that is fed to you so that you may have truth. And before you can censor what they send you, you have to understand in your own heart and stop censoring truth from yourself, which is to stop lying to yourself. I'm sorry, Miss Swift, to have been so hard and to make the analogy between what you do and what a stripper does. You know, and I don't know how old you are, but you know, in your line of work, which is the line of work of actors and those who are famous. I don't want to say performers, because you know, those backup singers or musicians that accompany you, most of them, I guess, aren't really famous. They play music, they perform. So I'm not talking about performers. I'm talking about people who make money and live their lives around gathering your money and your attention from you. That's fame. It comes with a responsibility. But ultimately, the people have responsibility to themselves to censor the lies that they receive from others before they put those lies into their hearts.